Yadadai, yai, 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 dai, yai, yai, yadadai, yai, 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 dai, yadai, yai, yadadai, yai, dai, yai, yadadai, yai, dai.
Good Yontif, Gemar Chatima Tova. May we all be inscribed and sealed for blessing and goodness. Welcome to our service. Those who are here with us on Zoom, welcome to our service. Those who are here with us on YouTube, welcome those close by and far away. It's so good to gather together. If you're here with us on Zoom, it's wonderful if you can show your beautiful face and have your camera on. That makes us have another means of connection. I invite you to open your heart and participate in this service. Use the chat if you like. Just allow the connections to flow. We are renewing our days. Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. I invite us during this service to think about what it is that we're being born into with this new year and this new cleaning of the slate. May we be renewed and born into goodness and humility and kindness and patience. May we be born into love for each other and for all human beings and for the planet itself.
We begin morning blessings with this kavanah, which is found on page 159. For the sake of the union of the Blessed Holy One with the Shekhinah, I stand here in body and mind to take upon myself the mitzvah, you shall love your fellow human being as yourself, and by this merit may I open up my mouth. We'll begin with Elohai Neshama, and then we'll move into morning blessings. Elohai Neshama Shenata Tabi Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who removes sleep from my eyes and slumber from my eyelids. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who gives the bird of dawn discernment to tell day from night. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who stretches forth the earth upon the waters. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who makes the blind to see. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who clothes the naked. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who makes the captive free. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who raises up the humble. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who makes firm a person's steps. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who acts for all my needs. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who girds Israel with strength. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who crowns Israel with splendor. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who made me in your image. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who made me free. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who made me of the people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Chei Olamim, who gives strength to the weary. Amen. We turn now to our Psalms for renewal of spirit and soul, for words of guidance for heart and behavior, and an opportunity to lift our voices in praise. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within, and renew a true soul within me, and renew a true soul within. Create a pure heart in me, Great Spirit. Create a pure heart in me.
What a way to open our hearts. I can't imagine anyone who didn't feel stirred and deeply, deeply touched. Thank you, CBH Chorus and Will and Gayan. We are so blessed. In a moment, Gayan will lead us in singing HaMelech, the King. This prayer invites us to think about, what do we serve? What do we lift up above all else? What elicits our awe? We say HaMelech, the King, the language that our ancestors found useful, not because we imagine God as a male sovereign sitting on high, as our ancestors did, but because we long to feel a connection with the supreme, the sublime, the source of awe, HaMelech.
המלך יושב על כיסא רם ונישא, שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו, וכתוב ונענו צדיקים באדוני, לישרים נאווה תהילה, בפי שרים תתרומם, ובדברי צדיקים תתברך, ובשון חסידים תתקדש, ובקרב קדושים תתהלל. שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו, ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו. ברכות והודאות מעתה ואת העולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך מלכי העולמים.
We, all of us who are here this morning, whether we are here on Zoom or YouTube, we are a worshiping, davening community. We call one another into that community with the words of Baruch Hu. Come on, everybody, let's give praise.
Yai, 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 Baruch Adonai Amvarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Yotzei Or Verei Choshech, Osei Shalom, Uveret HaKol, Or Olam Be'otzar Chaim, Orot Me'ofel, Amar Vayehi. Amen.
Amen. I invite Amy Dreyer to read an English rendition of this prayer, praising God for. I invite myself to share this translation of the prayer Yotzer, of praising God for creation. Blessed are you, eternal our God, source of all the world, fashioner of light, creator of darkness, maker of peace and creator of all, light of the world amid the treasures of life, light from darkness. The one spoke and all came to be.
Amen. The Ahava Rabbah greets the Shema by opening arms of love, the Ahava Rabbah. So let us walk into the Shema, this moment of connectedness, and we feel and call out to the oneness with love in our hearts. Ahava Rabbah avtanu, Adonai Eloheinu, chimla gedola v'tira, chamata aleinu, Avinu Malkeinu, ba'avur avotenu v'imotenu, shebatachu v'chavatelam debchuche chaim, ken techonenu utelamdenu. Our font, our loving parent, caring one, be merciful with us, and place into our hearts the ability to understand, to see, to hear, to learn, to teach, to keep, to do, and to uphold with love all that we study of your Torah.
Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchutcha, Le'olam Va'ed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשבתם להיות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך.
מי כמוך בעלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדע בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך, אספת הים יחד כולם, הודו והמלכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. So Yisrael, kuma be'ezrat Yisrael, uvdei chinu mecha Yehuda ve'Yisrael, go aleinu Adonai et tzevaot shemo, kedosh Yisrael, Baruch ata Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
Amen. We've been privileged to get to meet some members of CBH's community, some CBH Chaverim, throughout these holidays, and to hear them talk about how they happen to land in this community and what the community means to them. And each one is so precious and so wholly unique. No one but Brown could have said that he treasures being part of a weird community like this, and we revel in our weirdness. But this morning we're going to hear from Cliff Trammell, and we're so privileged to do so.
So when I was young, I was raised around the Jewish community. My parents were entertainers and performers. There were Jewish ancestors on my father's side of the family, but we were never a practicing family. we were on the Simcha circuit and as I grew up. And my parents, as performers, I would sing klezmer, and they would have me perform on stage as Cliff the Klezmer Kid. So like it was just a lot of fun. But there is something far more drawing and magnetizing about the Jewish experience of life. A coming of age for me of understanding like, there are other ways of being in this world that feel and animating to my heart. And so I wandered in and out of Jewish different communities. At the time, many years ago, I was a hip hop aerobics instructor at LA Fitness. And one of the guys that came to my class was Jewish, and he invited me to come to High Holidays. And and I said, sure. And I hadn't been in a while to shul. And so I went, and was just, the only seats available were like the front row. Everybody was in the back, so I was ushered right up to the front with him. And I had never seen a community that was so interwoven with different humans, like not just Jewish people, but like couples of interfaith or no faith households and different ways of being in the world all together in this moment of the High Holidays. It was really beautiful. There was a way of connecting and belonging in the Jewish community that I didn't know about, that was more progressive and inclusive of all the parts of myself, including not just coming from a different tradition that I was raised in, but also being queer and being able to accept all the parts of myself and not being told to be different, but just to come and be a part was such a different type of way of being in the community. I know I'm not the only one who's expressed this, but I felt closer to CBH during the pandemic than I had in all those years past. Mindful Moments became and still is a bookmark in my daily rhythm of when every time clock fell apart in my life, all my business contracts, all my day-to-day just sifted through the ground. There, I knew at 8:45 in the morning, I could get grounded with a group of other caring people and connect with each other. It was just me being invited. And that felt like a wonderful difference that I didn't know I wanted so much in my life. I'm glad I got to experience that. And in a strange way, it was a gift. And I think CBH has provided me opportunity after opportunity to be a new me and say, oh, is this you this year? Okay. Oh, this is you today. And where are you at now? So being in a community of people that acknowledge renewal as a way of life instead of a moment is a meaningful experience for me. And I found that CBH, without ever blinking for years, made space for me to come and be a part. Every high holiday, if I was able to come on Erev Shabbat or Shabbat, I was welcome. And the fact that there's such a generous extension of belonging, which excludes the requirement to pay, is truly unique in the Jewish world. And I think because CBH has never required that, it's brought about a desire in me now with my new job to become more of a contributing member financially. Because I know that every time those lights turn on and off when we were in the building, or to just run the human network that it takes to have an online community too. It's not about just the brick building. It's about the infrastructure of the people that keep this organization being an organism. I know this year we're asking for $270. And I think that it's a very reasonable ask for the things that we're doing and the ways that we've been giving back, not just during the pandemic, but the ways that we've made a difference in our city across the Southeast. I feel like it's if you can, please give. And for people that aren't able to, your face is giving and your presence is giving. Being apart and meditating together or calling one another is giving. And I think that giving takes on many expressions and forms. And for those of us that can give 270, I think it's a good ask.
We are thrilled to announce the Sokolo Challenge. Each high holiday gift will be matched up to a total of $15,000. Please visit www.donatetocbh.org/2021 to make your 100% match gift today. Thank you again for your generous support.
Thank you, Cliff, and thank you, Sokolos. What a beautiful, inspiring way to give to our community. I'm happy now to invite Jay Perlmutter to read a beautiful poem by the Israeli poet Amir Gilboa.
I pray a siddur from my heart, one with torn edges and all its missing words. I have long since vanished, flying away and seeking a resting place. How shall I bring a bandage for them when my heart's siddur with eaten edges still goes naked?
Friends, we want to be able to connect in community. So for those of us who are here on Zoom, we're going to take a few minutes in small groups in breakout rooms to be able to share something with one another. And here's the ask. Seth Meyers, the comic, created the term COVID keepers. Things that we have learned, practiced, gained in insights or priorities or habits that we would want to hold on to forever and take from this time, whenever it is that it's over. So I invite you in your small group to take just a moment to share one COVID keeper, one thing that you have found, come upon, tried, done, thought in this time that you're going to want to hold on to.
Hi, anybody here in the main room that just came in or didn't go to another room but wanted to connect or share, welcome, or just hang out, be quiet, whatever. But let me know if you're interested in relating to that question of one thing that you've received or learned during COVID that you're holding on to, that you've been able to understand as part of your resilience and your growth. There's a lot of people in here. Anybody want to share?
Hi.
Hi, Bill.
I tried to move the computer into the big room and I forgot to reconnect the Wi-Fi, so I lost the connection. So I'm
You're
back.
here now. You're here now.
We're here now.
And this is our breakout room.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, wait.
Our questions are insights, priorities, anything that has been a COVID time, the time of this pandemic, something we've kept and really has worked for us, a coping mechanism or a learning.
Yeah, being outdoors and
Morning, everyone. What did I miss?
Morning,
Good
Aaron.
morning. It doesn't look like. Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. It looks. I don't know where I am because it looks like I'm in a breakout room, but
You're in a
people
main.
I'm hearing
You're in
on
the
the
main
phone now
room.
are not the people.
You're in the main room. So, but we're kind of like our own small breakout room in the main room.
Got it. For some reason, my phone's not working.
Okay. Well, a congregant, Bill Witherspoon, was just getting ready to answer the question that we're in conversation about. Go ahead, Bill.
oh, well,
I can see everybody. I can hear everybody. Nobody can hear me. That's why I had to call in.
so I understood the question. So what kinds of things have we activated to get through the pandemic?
My
I
main
think
thing will be
being outdoors and getting exercise outdoors is one of the things that just keeps me going all the time. And seeing when it became possible to see people in small groups, that sure has been helpful. And when it's been possible to sing in person, that has been really helpful. So those are all great things.
Awesome. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah. Let's see.
Anybody else want to join in on that? What you've
I would like to.
okay.
I would say the main thing I'm taking away is my family started a family Zoom every Monday,
Nice.
and we're on all parts in all different states, and it's been really rewarding. My first cousins and my parents and really enjoyed it. And we're obviously going to keep doing it.
That's lovely. I know some other
Yeah.
families that have done that, and that's really awesome. Richard, you're unmuted. Are you about to speak?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was hoping you were. I've learned a lot about technology, folks. Things that I never thought I would ever be doing. And Will commented to me the other day, he goes, "Can you believe the words you're saying? MP4, ping, JPEG, all these other words that I've learned how to say. Technology. All right, looks like we're coming back into the large room here in a minute. Gemara Chatama Tova.
All right. Now, then, I'll leave them if you don't want to.
It's a chance to wave to a couple of people here before we move in. See some folks say hi, Peter. Hi, Elaine. Hi, Rebecca's mom. Hi, Abby. Hashivenu Adonai elecha venashuva Kaddish, Kaddish, Yameinu kekedam, Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai elecha, Shuva, Vena Shuva, Chadish, Chadish, Yameinu kekedem. Here comes everyone. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai elecha, venashuva, venashuva. think we're all back in the room, or are we still having trouble with our
I
Zoom?
think we're still having trouble. Some people seem to be stuck in space in their breakout rooms.
And I was just talking about how technology was what I had learned during the pandemic. I've learned a lot about it. It's ups and downs.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we've learned is that we're not in control. All right, we'll keep hoping that they'll come back, those people who are probably really enjoying being together.
Well, that's good. I like that.
So, we're going to move now into the Amidah, a central part of our worship this morning. And I invite us to allow love to flow, to allow connection to be there for us as we pray together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avoteinu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Velohei Yaakov Velohei Sarah Velohei Rivka Velohei Rachel Hagibor be'anarayon gomer chasadim tovim vechoneh hakol vezocher chasdei avot v'imot umevi geula livnei v'neim lema'an shemo be'ahava Mison chachamim univonim umilemedat mevenim eftichafi beftifalav tachanunim lachalot ulachanein penei melech machei rachamim mocher vesoleach laovonim זוכרנו לחיים מלך חפץ בחיים וחותמנו בספר החיים למענך אלוהים חיים מלך עוזר ומושיח ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם וזרעת שרה.
Amen. We read together, page 391. You are forever powerful, Almighty One, abundant in your saving acts. You send down the dew. In loyalty, you sustain the living, nurturing the life of every living being, upholding those who fall, healing the sick, freeing the captive, and remaining faithful to all life held dormant in the earth. Who can compare to you, Almighty God? Who can resemble you, the source of life and death, who makes salvation grow? Who can compare to you, source of all mercy, remembering all creatures mercifully, decreeing life? V'ne'eman ata l'chayot kol chai. Baruch atah Adonai mechayei kol chai.
לעורך דין. ובכן לכך יכתירו לאל עורך דין. לבכן לבבות ביום דין. לגולי עמוקות אוי בדין. לבכן לבבות ביום דין. לגולי עמוקות בדין. לדו להוגדיot. לדובר משרים ביום דין, להוגדיot אוי בדין. לדובר משרים ביום דין, להוגדיot בדין. לוותיק ועושה חסד ביום דין, לזוכר בריתו בדין. לוותיק ועושה חסד ביום דין, לזוכר בריתו בדין. לחומל מעשיו ביום דין, לתחר חוסיו אוי בדין. לחומל מעשיו ביום דין, לטהר חוסיו בדין. לבש צדקות ביום דין, למוכר למנות בדין. לנורא תהילות ביום דין, לסולח לעמוסיו בדין. לעונה לקרוב ביום דין, לפועל רחמיו בדין. לצופה נסתרות ביום דין, לכונה עבדיו בדין. לרחם עמו ביום דין, לשומר אוהריו בדין. לתומך תמימיו ביום דין.
נריצך ונקדישך כסוד שיח, שרפי קודש המקדישים שמך בקודש. הכתובה יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה, ואמר קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך הארץ כבודו. כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שונים זה לזה. איה מקום כבודו, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו. ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו הוא יפן מרחמים. יחון עמם יחדים שמו, ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד. אמן יהוה שמה אומרים, שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד. הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. אדיר אדירנו אדוני אדוננו, מאדיר שמך בכל הארץ. והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהי ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. בשפחה אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. כי אל מלך גדול וקדוש אתה. Page 418, Shema Kolenu. We talked last night about this incredibly plaintive prayer. We pray that our voices will be heard, that we will not be abandoned, that instead our days will be renewed as of old. Shema Kolenu Adonai Eloheinu, chus v'rachem aleinu, v'kabel b'rachamim uvratzon et tefilatenu. Hear our voices, Eternal One, our God, and accept our prayer with mercy and goodwill. Turn us, Ancient One, toward you, let us return. Renew our days like days of old. Do not cast us away from dwelling in your presence, and do not remove your Holy Spirit from our midst. And do not cast us off as we grow old. Do not forsake us when our strength departs. Do not forsake us, Gentle One, our God. Do not withdraw from us. Give us a sign of your blessing, so that everyone who bears us ill shall hesitate to harm us. For truly you, Eternal One, have always helped and consoled us. Hear now our words, God of compassion, and behold our contemplation. May the words of our prayer and the meditations of our heart be seen favorably, Precious One, our rock, our champion. For we place our hope in you, Eternal One. So may you answer us, Almighty One, our God. We're moving now into the Vidui, our collective confessional time. This time when we acknowledge our vulnerability, our imperfection, and our striving, and when we bolster one another with sharing all of that. We're going to begin this section with a Sephardic piyut, a special poem for this time called Adon HaSlichot, Master of Forgiveness. And then we together will acknowledge our sins.
Adon HaSelichot,
We are strong-willed and stubborn, but you are merciful and gracious. We are stiff-necked, but you are slow to anger. We are full of error, but you are full of mercy. Our days are like a passing shadow, but you are one whose years shall never end. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, tavo lefanecha tfilatenu, ve'al titalam mitrinatenu, she'en anachnu azefani mukshei oref, nomar lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, tzadikim anachnu v'lo chatanu. Aval anachnu chatanu.
Yai da da yai 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 da da yai 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 da yai 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 Hashamdu
Nashamnu,
Bagadnu
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi
Dibarnu Dofi,
Yai da da yai 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 da da yai 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 da da yai yai Hevinu
Evinu,
Vehishanu
Vehirshanu,
Zadnu
Zadnu,
Chamasnu
Chamasnu,
Tafalnu Shacher
Tafalnu Shaker,
Yai da da yai 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 da da yai 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 da da yai yai Ya'atnura
Yahatznura,
Kizhavnu
Kizavnu,
Latnu
Lahatznu,
Maradnu
Maradnu,
Niatnu
Niyatznu,
Sararnu
Tsararnu,
Avinu
Avinu,
Pashanu
Pashanu,
Sararnu
Tsararnu,
Kishinu Oref
Kishinu Ore,
Yai da yai 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 da da yai 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 da 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 Rashanu
Rashanu,
Shichatnu
Shichatnu,
Tiavnu
Tiavnu,
Tainu
Tainu,
Titanu
Titanu,
Yai da yai 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 da da yai 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 da yai yai yai.
We've come to a very special moment in our vidui process, our confession process, and that is our communal congregational al-chet. Members of our congregation have written in missings of the mark for which they are feeling remorse and regret. And we don't have people say them alone. We say them as they're all of ours. And I want to say one other thing, which is it's traditional to take your hand and tap your heart. Some people experience this traditional gesture as self-flagellation or self-punishment. So I want to share with you an interpretation that I heard years ago, which is we can see it rather as a knocking at the heart, a very gentle massage. Wake up, heart, open up. So when we say al chet shechatanu, for the sin that we have sinned, we say, let my heart open to acknowledge and to repair. Steve Osheroff and Miriam Karp will be our readers. And in between the two sets of these al chets, we will chant together with Gayan the al kulam.
Go first, Miriam.
Okay. Acts I have committed against myself and other individuals. I have felt jealous of my brother and sister-in-law and resentful of my parents for spending more time with that part of the family than with my part of the family due to travel proximity and concerns about COVID-19. I have failed to listen with empathy. I have not been more giving of myself to those less fortunate than I am. I have not made enough effort to reach out to distant family members. I haven't given myself enough credit for my achievements and successes during times of great challenge. I have not expressed my appreciation and love for my spouse enough. All the times during the virtual school year that I became impatient and frustrated with my children for not focusing, failing to do their work, or asking me for more time while I would try to work to support the family. I haven't taken care of my health as I should. I have not been patient and compassionate enough with my brother. I have not been patient enough with friends. I have not shown myself the compassion that I give to others easily. I have felt ashamed of myself for no tangible reasons. I have been impatient and judgmental. I have eaten sometimes compulsively and unhealthily. I have played mindless games, sometimes compulsively. I have spent too much time consuming media and exacerbating fear, outrage, and self-righteousness. This is all time I could have used to meditate, be in nature, hike, or search productively. My attention has been overwhelmed and scattered. I have been harsh on myself and to others. I do not allow myself time to grieve losses. With others, there were times I was careless with the words I used. I have not always taken myself seriously enough. I have trivialized and disrespected myself. I have forgotten who I really am inside and have allowed others' negative comments to lower my idea of who I am. I have treated myself and my abilities and energies, my power, my gifts, as if they were useless. I have let hopelessness dim my strength and my sense of mischief and fun. I have lived a lie all my life. My wife and daughter do not know that I am a female inside. I have doubted my partner. I have wasted much precious time allowing laziness and fear to distract me from the hard spiritual work I need to do. I have procrastinated. I have not responded to messages in a respectful amount of time. I have overcommitted and underdelivered. I have failed to visit a friend who had to move to a nursing home. I have been impatient with moving change forward. I have lost hope in the midst of disappointments. I have lost my temper too often. I have not given my best effort to many things. I have enabled others in ways that have made me miserable. I have not sought help. I have physically harmed my body as punishment for my unintentional mistakes. I have denied my personal needs in service to others. I have called myself bad names. I have felt hopeless. I have been too hard on myself and not valued my work. I have been way too quick to anger, especially around COVID-related issues. I have been bitter towards my ex-husband and acted on that bitterness. I have been short-tempered and sharp with my words. I have made choices that don't support my well-being. I have been cold and distant. I have not visited some people who are sick. I have not contacted old friends who have reached out to me. I am too judgmental and critical of others and myself. I am impatient with my mother.
And for them all, God of forgiveness, please forgive us, pardon us, help us to atone. V'yal kulam Elohim
I have taken, these are acts I have committed against CBH or against the greater human community. I have taken the path of least resistance. I have been passive. I have not tended to relationships. I have hated. I have numbed. I have shirked. I have scorned. I have despaired. I have despaired of the current state of our country and of the world. I have not done enough to help those in need. I have not donated enough. I have not volunteered enough. I have not given as much as I could have in money, energy, or time. I have embraced my privilege and let go of my social justice work while others have kept up the fight. I have been driving drunk, often feeling despair for the world and our chances of saving it from complete climate disaster. I have succumbed to COVID isolation and to not seeking out others enough. I have been feeling distant from the CBH community. I have felt separate and alone, forgetting my connection with God. I have not wanted to live in my physical body. I have not made changes that would help our planet, although I was able to. I have not given my best effort to many things, having given in to pessimism, apathy, and laziness. I have spent money on things I don't need when I could have donated more to humanitarian efforts. I have thrown away things that could have been recycled or reused because it was convenient and I was in a hurry. I have not fully shown up. I have put off things that would have helped others out of laziness. I have been greedy and kept time and resource to myself that I could have given to others. I have been selfish, greedy, and lazy. I have procrastinated and wasted time that could have been better spent. I have disrespected my fellow man by forgetting I can act out of love and joy. I have let fear and a sense of myself as a victim overpower a stronger vision of myself as a person who steps forward to take responsibility and action. I did not give enough of myself. I have spoken ill of people. In our lives are a part of a web of mistreatment of the earth. I am complicit in the degradation of this precious world that we are part of. I eat out with takeout containers, drive a car, and use Amazon. I volunteered to contribute to updating the chant booklet and did not follow through. I have ignored people clearly in need out of my own fear or distress. I have done only a fraction of what I could have to help prevent further damage to our Mother Earth. I have lingered on the periphery of CBH due to shyness and feeling inadequate during this time of hardship. I have been so encumbered by my own current challenges that I am not doing enough to promote social justice and voting rights for all. I have cut back on tzedakah when I should be spending less and giving more. I am not volunteering enough. I have been lacking participation in calls for volunteering. I have not reached out enough to my elected officials when they are making the wrong decisions. I have committed the sin of being totally disconnected from CBH and have made no attempt to reach out to our community, including those who lost a parent or a loved one. I have been stingy with my time and energy. And finally, I have felt resentment toward those whose lack of unvaccinated family members has allowed them more freedom in recent months, and rage against those who have chosen to remain unvaccinated and thus increase COVID risk for all of us.
And for them all, God of forgiveness, please forgive us, pardon us, help us to atone. V'ya kulam elos lichot, salach lanu mechal lanu kapelanu. V'ya kulam elos lichot, salach lanu mechal lanu, salach lanu mechal lanu kapelanu.
Page 433, the last 4 lines. For you are the source of all forgiveness, the fount of mercy for each and every generation. And apart from you, we have no sovereign, so full of mercy and forgiveness, none but you. We take time to pray silently from the pages in the Machzor 437 to 445, or from the pages of our own deepest longings of our hearts.
We close the Amidah with the Birchat Shalom. I'm going to sing May Shechina bless thee. And if you'd like to extend your talitot to those that are around you, put this on gallery view so that you can see our community. And you might just want to extend your own talitot. A lot of vulnerability in that sharing and a lot of things that we all can relate to. Oh, wait just a moment. I see you getting your talit. Yeah. May Shechina bless thee and keep thee from harm. May her light shine on you and wrap you in warmth. Adonai panav elecha vechunecha. Adonai panav elecha veyasem lecha shalom. May Shekhinah bless thee and keep thee from harm. May her light shine on you and wrap you in warmth. Adonai panav elecha vechunecha. May her countenance be lifted upon thee and bring peace. Turn to the Avinu Malkeinu. Traditional is found on page 452 and through 452 through 454. But there's an alternative that we're going to chant, and you'll find it in your chat. Our Father, our King, teach us how to make this year a new beginning. Our Mother, our Queen, teach us how to grow from the harshness of life. Our Source and our Destiny teach us how to accept what must be changed. Our Father, our King, teach us how to face disease and death. Our Mother, our Queen, teach us how to enjoy the gifts of life. Our Source and our Destiny teach us how to make peace with our enemies. Our Guide and our Truth teach us how we can best help our people Yisrael. Our Mother, our King, our Father, our King, teach us how we can best help all of humanity. Our Mother, our Queen, let us find pardon from our wrongdoings. Our Source and our Destiny, let us return to you wholly and completely. Our Guide and our Truth, teach us how to help those who are ill. Our Father, our King, teach us how to be good friends. Our Mother, our Queen, teach us how to be good people. Our Source and our Destiny teach us how to bring justice into the world. Our Guide and our Truth teach us how to be one with your universe. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Hineni v'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'hesed. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'hesed ve'oshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Hineni v'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed ve'oshienu.
Kaddish Tit Gabal, page 462. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba, Amen. B'yalma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael b'galad uv'zman kariv imru amen yehi shmera b'mevorach Le'olam u'le'olmei almaya yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnase v'yithadar v'yit'ale v'yit'alal shemei kudesha brichu le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata di'amiran bi'alma ve'imeru amen amen titkabal tzlot honu va'uthon dechol beit Yisrael kodem avuhon di bishmaya ve'imeru amen amen Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru ve'imeru amen amen Ose shalom bimromav v'yaseh shalom aleinu Ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel ve'imru 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 amen amen. It's time for us to hear words of Torah from our esteemed Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Josh Lesser. Most of you know Rabbi Josh, so I won't give you his entire accomplished bio, but rather just share with you what he's up to now. Rabbi Josh serves as an adjunct professor of Judaism at Agnes Scott College here in Atlanta, and as a consultant on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Rabbi Josh also works with the On Being Project and their Social Healing Fellowship as a spiritual director for the fellows. He is also a spiritual director for rabbinical students at Hebrew Union College. Rabbi Josh.
Welcome, friends. It's good to be with you. Especially warm welcome to all of our Congregation Beit Chaverim members, to our guests who are joining with us, and particularly those who are on YouTube. I want to invite you to please come back to Congregation Beit Chaverim. You're always welcome to be with us. My devar. Too often, sex complicates things. Yom Kippur at Beit Chaverim is no exception. As a rabbinical student, I came home to spend Yom Kippur with my family in Atlanta. We attended Beit Chaverim, and I noticed something odd. There was no mincha service. Mincha is the afternoon service that includes a Torah and a Haftarah reading. Years later, when I became the rabbi, faced with leading my first High Holy Day services, I asked about the missing mincha. The ritual chair explained that CBH excluded mincha due to the Torah reading. You see, the Torah portion, read at mincha traditionally, is part of the holiness code that enumerates the sexual prohibitions, including the part that refers to homosexuality as an abomination. She said further, why would we read a Torah portion that alienates us when Yom Kippur is a day that brings us closer to God, to Judaism, and to ourselves? So while I understood that choice, and admittedly was not yet ready to pitch the heretical idea of replacing the Torah portion instead of excluding the entire service, I did, though, keep my disappointment to myself out of this choice, because what it meant is that we did not read the book of Jonah. Jonah, read at Mincha as the Haftarah, brings a vital message to Yom Kippur. If you're unfamiliar with Jonah, he is a runaway prophet who ends up in the belly of a mammoth fish. Jonah's travails are about the struggles of embracing fidelity to self and our greatest human potential. His story reminds us, towards the very end of Yom Kippur, that practicing fidelity is not always easy. I'll return to Jonah in a moment, but instead of focusing on the end of the day, I want to bring our attention to how we enter Yom Kippur. Practicing fidelity isn't only present in the book of Jonah, it is how we start. When we chant Kol Nidre, we are saying a confession of a lack of our fidelity to our own words and promises. We ask for a clean slate, for an opportunity to reestablish a trust that we will follow through with what we pledge. Out of the gate, we acknowledge our infidelity and we commit to doing better in this coming year. But how can we do better if we are not so clear on what fidelity means as a value? At this point, you may be wondering, did the rabbi just serve us some clickbait? Where is the sex he mentioned? It's true, this sermon is more about the spiritual value of fidelity than anything else. But yet here too, sex complicates things. Fidelity and infidelity too often are reduced to being about sex. Misguidedly, we equate fidelity to monogamy in marriage instead of the spiritual practice of adhering to one's greatest truths and honoring the commitments that emerge from them. Our American definition of fidelity, influenced by the Puritans, is overly tied up with one's sexual commitment to another. This emphasis on fidelity as an expression of sex and marriage has obscured the essential meaning of fidelity, making it almost taboo and something that we don't teach to our children or study ourselves. This narrow way of understanding fidelity, I believe, is flawed. It's like taking a shortcut that doesn't even deliver you to the destination. Practicing monogamy does not guarantee fidelity in a relationship. Betrayal and infidelity come in many different forms. Simply put, monogamy is a behavior, fidelity is a value. And while being responsible and loyal with our sexuality and our partners can be an outcome of practicing fidelity, when we reduce or over-identify fidelity to one behavior or to one relationship, we lose the potency of how the value can truly shape our entire lives. We can, and I believe we should, think about fidelity in relationship to our friends, to our family members, and our communities. But most essentially, we cannot begin to think about fidelity without starting by cultivating fidelity to self. Without fidelity to self, how we practice fidelity to others is only a facsimile of the value. Practicing fidelity requires attention to our inner lives. It means aligning our values with our behaviors. It means living with integrity, being loyal with intention, following through on our commitments, doing the work that is ours to do, setting good and healthy boundaries, being willing to examine and admit our shortcomings, and then seeking repair. Fidelity requires that we do all of this kind of work without the drama of shame or the precariousness of fragility, so that we can lean into authenticity and love. Fidelity is loyalty with intention and integrity. For without those, our loyalties could be based on things like popularity, comfort, pressure from others, even nostalgia. Fidelity requires a loyalty that emerges from our authentic self. Shakespeare said, "To thine own self be true." Practicing fidelity to self is a commitment to refrain from the ways that we betray ourselves. It is letting go of the notion that the change we seek is because there is something fundamentally flawed within us. Rather, the changes we adopt are to remove the obstacles in the way of our natural, authentic expression and power. Doing this is often our pathway to a deeper sense of purpose and meaning. Concisely, fidelity to self is the spiritual practice of being true to our essence. And for some of us, the possibility of discerning God's will. And frankly, most of us could use some work on fidelity to our own selves. It's a spiritual practice that I return to because of the many ways we humans repeatedly betray ourselves and our beliefs. Honestly, how many times do I berate myself for the misspoken word or for the inadvertent mistake? How much time have I wasted preoccupied about other people's perceptions of me? On the other hand, I'm also guilty of avoiding taking responsibility at times or denying my harmful deeds. These are the daily kinds of ways we all betray ourselves. When our fidelity to self lapses, we find ourselves in turbulence that does not serve our purpose, or we realize we are painfully disconnected from the most important part of who we are. This is a primary lesson that the book of Jonah comes to teach us on Yom Kippur. Jonah conveys a very relatable tension of how our fears and our impulses betray us and get in the way of adhering to our greatest ideals. But Jonah also teaches that when we embrace fidelity to self, we can live into our fullest potential. The book of Jonah begins with God urging the prophet to go to Nineveh, the archetypal city of ill repute, to decry their wickedness. But by verse 2, Jonah hightailed it out of there. He boarded a ship headed in the opposite direction to evade his calling. We know very little about Jonah's origins, but in Pirkei d'Eliezer, an early 9th century rabbinic midrashic text, Jonah is described as an extremely likable, popular prophet. People of all faiths followed his guidance. When he suggested that people repent, people listened. Life was good for Jonah. So why, when he was so gifted, did he run? According to the legend, Jonah fled out of fear of losing his good standing and his followers. The task of talking to the people of Nineveh seemed daunting. Jonah was so attached to what others thought of him that he betrayed what he knew he must do to avoid the discomfort of failing or falling from favor. He trades his truth for status. And there's an irony here that Jonah, known for warning people of their infidelity to what is right, has not internalized his own messages. This too is also relatable. How many of us bow to our desire to be well-liked, our sense of comfort, and our own fragility, rather than do what we believe is right? Instead, we make justifications for our avoidance, or even worse, like Jonah, we point out in others what we do ourselves. Practicing fidelity to self can often feel like it comes at a high price. But what Jonah teaches us is that by avoiding fidelity, by slipping out of integrity, that comes at an even greater cost. Jonah's defiance instigated God to send a tumultuous storm. The ship's crew gathered the passengers to determine the cause, but they could not find Jonah. When the captain discovered Jonah fast asleep at the bottom of the ship, he was dismayed. How could you be sleeping so soundly? Up, Jonah, call upon your God. Perhaps we will be spared, said the captain. How often does our own disconnection from the consequences of our behavior wreak havoc for ourselves and for those around us? Jonah had the agency to temper the storm, and so often, so do we. Yet Jonah is too distanced, too distracted from his own power to understand this. And instead, he denies his own giftedness. We do this too. We become disconnected, living in a world that entices us to measure ourselves to others, to acquiesce, to conform. What Jonah feared would happen actually already did. It occurred. He was not particularly popular, I imagine, with those affected by the storm. When we too sever the connection to our true self, we can also find ourselves asleep metaphorically, lacking confidence in our abilities and agencies, denying our true callings, and tempted by the allure of things that do not truly matter, like status. We might ask on this Yom Kippur, what are the storms that we are avoiding, the disarray in our own lives, the issues that are calling to us, asking for our response, whether that be systemic racism, climate collapse. There are so many ways that we tune out to the calls within us. When we are asleep, in denial of where our fidelity should lie, we allow ourselves and others to be battered by the storm. Fidelity to self does not prevent pain. Rather, it encourages us to respond openly, to meet it vulnerably and compassionately to that pain. This leads us to a reconnection to our essential nature. And so when it becomes apparent that Jonah is the source of the storm, the crew plead with him. How might they quell the raging seas? And Jonah begs them. He begged for them to throw him overboard. They cannot bring themselves to do this, so they row even harder, even faster, not wanting to end a life. But it doesn't work. The storm does not abate. And they begin to pray that they not be punished for what they were about to do. And they throw Jonah overboard. I believe they act as a foil in the story. First, they try to save Jonah out of their fidelity to their value of human life. But ultimately, they understand that they cannot sacrifice their own fidelity to self. They cannot cross their own boundaries, further risking their own lives for someone who will not do it for himself. And so overboard, Jonah is swallowed by an enormous fish. And there he sits in the belly, and he faced an existential crisis, reckoning with his true nature and his life's purpose. He cried out in prayer, recounting, how can I have sunk this far? How fragile is my very life? And ultimately he realizes, those who cling to their empty folly forsake their own welfare. Who listening cannot empathize with that elegant prophecy? Having admitted this betrayal of his sacred self by valuing the wrong things, Jonah finds his way to a sincere prayer. He uttered with enthusiastic gratitude, I will dedicate myself to you. What I have vowed, I will enact. And with this declaration of fidelity, the fish returned him to dry land. And Jonah returned to Nineveh with vigor. And despite the immensity of the city, he traveled from one side to the other, warning the people of their demise imminently. Jonah was so persuasive, though, and his words so effective that the people began to fast almost immediately, including the king, who repented fully and enjoined everybody in the land to do the same. God, touched by their remorse, reversed the decree of their destruction. And it's amazing that Jonah, so disconnected, accomplishes so much. He did this by practicing fidelity to self. But yet, human Jonah, so reliably predictable in the ways that we are, falls into an old pattern. Instead of celebrating the lives saved or recognizing his role, he became angry, and he feared that the people would see him as a fraud, concerned about what others thought about him. Jonah's self-sabotage led him to rage and grieve to God rather than accept an incredibly inspiring prophet who saved the people of an entire city. Like the drama queen that we all have within us, when we get wrapped up in the stories we tell to diminish ourselves, Jonah cried out to God, "Take my soul. I want to cease living." And so the story ends with God teaching Jonah the lesson that once we've established our fidelity to self and that it is restored, we have the responsibility to practice fidelity to others. Angry and miserable in the unyielding sun, God creates a shade plant for Jonah to give him some respite. And when Jonah finds comfort under the shade, God then sends a worm to devour the plant, causing Jonah to once again cry out in misery. God uses this as an opening and said plainly, "Jonah, you grieved this plant, but you did not grow it. Yes, you are disappointed that your prophecy of Nineveh's destruction did not come to pass. But can't you understand my fidelity in saving these people whom I created?" And so the book of Jonah ends with the message that we must balance our connection to self with the bigger picture. We must learn that living with fidelity to self is not narcissism, nor should it be self-involved, but rather it must give us a firm foundation to understand our interconnection to others, our fidelity to those we love, to those who we're in community with. And with a strong enough foundation, we might even imagine those with whom we are embattled. Rabbi Janet Martyrer wrote that to see ourselves as a body of water, as totally connected with the other waves that surround us, is a profoundly difficult demand of us as human beings. How comfortable it can be in our individualistic society to distance ourselves from others, to don our blinders, and to decide that the destiny of the other is irrelevant to our own. This year has taught us that we are indeed bound together. And so we can only meet this demand honestly from a strong place of fidelity of self. In the Zohar, our foundational Jewish mystical text, it teaches that the word Jonah is another name for the soul. Thus, Jonah's journey is our soul's journey, a journey of revealing our true nature, of coming to understand the power of who we were created to be so that we remain connected to who we are when we understand our interconnectedness to one another. Ultimately, this oneness is where our loyalty and faithfulness lie. When we betray ourselves and our essence, we disrupt the entire web. It is why Yom Kippur is a ritual that is both so intimately personal and vastly communal. Without fidelity to self, we suffer mightily. Our soul's journey is to approach our lives with integrity so that we have some spaciousness to become our fullest self. Doing this, we encourage others to do the same. We drop the need for comparison and for conformity. Cassandra Goodman, the author of Self-Fidelity, outlines these steps for us. She encourages us to remember that we are not our thoughts, that we must release the things that obstruct our vision, and that we must engage in life-affirming behavior. And I would add that we must attune ourselves to that still, small voice within us. When we do this, she suggests, we might imagine a future where our enoughness was off the table, where we did not invest so much time proving ourselves to others, where we could rely on the knowledge of our inherent worthiness and goodness, and where we experience more aliveness and uplift in our day-to-day lives. This past year has been a time of fragmentation. Our trust in ourselves, our neighbors, our communities, this congregation, our country, has felt frayed as we wrestle with how we might navigate during this pandemic. We also express the grief, the frustration, the lack of clarity that we've endured under so much political disruption, even anger. Living through such a time of disconnection and suffering, wouldn't a reconnection to our true nature and extending some fidelity to ourselves and to the people and the communities we hold dear be a welcome way to navigate this coming year? As Jonah taught, those who cling to their empty folly forsake their own welfare. And so the opposite must be true. Those who cling to their true essence will find their purpose. There is so much potential for what lies ahead for us here at Beit Chaverim and for all of us in this coming year, especially if we begin by practicing fidelity to self. Good Yom Tov.
Thank you, Rabbi Josh, for your words of Torah. I learned a lot as always. Just a reminder to folks that our Torah service is at 12:30, that it's not right now because we're getting ready to move into Musaf. So if you're wondering about the Torah service, it'll be on a separate Zoom link. And those words that Rabbi Josh said could not be a better introduction into the prayer Hineni, which is a prayer of the cantors, where basically what we're saying is we have to just do this good enough, that we can't do this perfectly, and that we're holding the prayers and facilitating the prayers of the people and offering those with great humility. I always find this prayer to be very powerful in that, because there can be a lot of sense of wanting to do it really well. And as y'all know, I trip over my Hebrew, and there are other mistakes that we make. So Brad and I have been holding the place of cantors for a while here at CBH. Neither of us ordained, but holding that position. And Rabbi Dale comes in with an enormous amount of facilitation of knowing how to sing prayers that I've never heard them sung that way, and it's so beautiful. So this year, all three of us are holding up the prayer life of our congregation. And Brad and I have been singing Hineni as a duet because we want to bring our cantorial presence together for you and this humility in this prayer Hineni. So this is a recording so that you could hear us together. But what I've done is put in an alternative interpretation of the Hineni so that while we listen, you'll be able to expand your own connection to what the meaning of this prayer is for those of us that hold this place. And may our prayers be as worthy as they're able to be on all of our behalves. Hineni. Hineni ani mimas nirash v'nifchad mipachad yoshev tilot Yisrael bati la'amod ul'chanein lefanecha al amcha Yisrael asher shelachuni אף על פי שאיני חדי והגון לכך, על כן אבקש ממך, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, ואלוהי יעקב, ואלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ולאה. אדוני אשר אנוכיני הולך לעמוד ולבקש רחמים עלי ועל שוכי נעלתי שם בחטאותי ואל תחייבם בעוונותי כי חוטא ופושע
ואל יקמול בפשעי, ואל ימושו אבי, ואל ימושה בהם. וקבל תפילתי כתפילת זקן ורגיל, ופרקו נאה וזקנו מגודל, וקולו נעים ומעורב בדעת עם הבריות. ותיגר בשטן לבעל יסטינני, והנה דגלנו עליך אהבה, לכל פשעים תכסה באהבה, וכל צרות ורעות הפכנה לנו ולכל ישראל לששון ולשמחה, לחיים ולשלום. האמת והשלום אהבו, ואל יהי שום מכשול בתפילתי. ויהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהי אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, אדוני אלוהי שרה, רבקה, רחל ולאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, אהיה אשר אהיה, שכל המלאכים שהם בעלי תפילות יביאו תפילתי לפני כיסא כבודך, ויציגו אותה לפניך. בעבור כל הצדיקים והחסידים, התמימים והישרים, ובעבור כבוד שמך הגדול והנורא, כי אתה שומע תפילת עמך ישראל ברחמים. ברוך אתה שומע תפילה.
Rabbi Dale is opening the Ark for the Unetanneh Tokef, which is a medieval piyut, a poem. And it is the gift of the poet to describe the world in a way so you can see it differently. Some of these poems take root. They embed themselves so deeply into the religious structure as if it were an immovable doctrine. This always ties our words down to the ground, when really the imagination of the poet uses words to take flight. The poet wants to create a three-dimensional encounter with our reality as we live it. This piyut can be so dynamic, creating an energetic moment in the Jewish cycle of time, a culmination that captures both the vibrational resonance of tradition and where we are in time now. It targets time, this window of what might happen in the next moon cycles and sun rotation. Time says, "Let there be," says Ursula Le Guin. She wrote this shortly before her death in her book Hymn to Time, saluting the invisible dimension that pervades and encompasses the whole of life, the radiance of each bright galaxy, eyes beholding radiance and death and chance. The Unetanneh Tokef is a potent and dramatic moment of our High Holy Days, as its passion and prescription create a pivotal doorway. Will you look at death? Will we come face to face with the uncertainty of how we will die, allowing our denial of death to be broken open? The poet rattles our awareness, provokes discomfort and fear, and yet directs us to how we might live our life more fully, or as one of our stalwart poets of our time, Mary Oliver, has put it, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? If we are humbled by the great level playing field of mortality, we can turn to dedicating ourselves more readily to a life of purpose and meaning. Rabbi Dale gave us the great gift last night of describing the fullness of the pathways of tefillah, teshuvah, and tzedakah. This is the work of life. Unetanneh Tokef. Unetanneh Tokef, kedushat hayom, כי הוא נורא והיום, ובוא תנצא מלכותך, ויקון בחסד כיסאך, ותשיב אליו באמת, אמת. כי אתה הוא דיין ומוכיח, ואודה ועד, וכותב וחותם, וסופר ומונה, ותזכור כל הנשכחות, ותפתח את ספר הזיכרונות, ומאליו יחרה וחותם יד כל אדם בו, ובשופר יתקע וכל דממה דקה יישמע ומלאכים יחפזון וחיל רעדה יוחזון ויאמרו הנה יום הדין לפקוד הצד והמרום בדין כי לא יזכו בעיניך בדים וכל באי עולם יעברון לפניך כי בני מרום כבקרת רועה דרו מעביר צאנו תחת שיטו כבקרת רועה דרו מעביר צאנו תחת שיטו כן תעביר ותספור ותמנה ותפקוד נפש כל חי כבקרת רועה דרו מעביר צאנו תחת שיטו ותכתוב קצבה לך בריאה ותכתוב את גזר דינם בראש Shana Yichatevun Yichatevun Uvyom Som Kippur Yechatemun Yechatemun.
On Rosh Hashanah it is written, and on Yom Kippur it is sealed.
Berosh Hashanah Yichatevun Yichatevun Uvyom Som Kippur Yechatemun Yechatemun.
How many shall pass on? How many shall come to be? Who shall live and who shall die? Who shall see ripe age and who shall not?
Kamaya avorun v'chamai bareun michye umi yachmut mi vikitso mi lo vikitso Berosh Hashanah Yichatevun Uvyom Som Kippur Yechatemun Yechatemun.
Who shall perish by fire and who by water? Who by sword and who by beast? Who by hunger and who by thirst?
Mi va'esh u'mi va'amayim, mi va'charev u'mi va'chaya, mi va'ra'av u'mi va'tzama. Berosh Hashanah Yichatevun Yichatevun Uvyom Som Kippur Yechatemun Yechatemun.
Who shall perish by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who shall be secure and who shall be driven? Who shall be tranquil and who shall be troubled? Who shall be poor and who shall be rich? Who shall be humbled and who exalted?
Mi v'arash u'mi v'magefa, mi v'chanicha u'mi v'sikila. Mi yanuach u'mi yanuach, mi shaket, mi toraf, mi shalev u'mi tyaser, mi ya'ani u'mi ya'ashir, mi yushpal, u'mi yarud, u'mi yarum, u'teshuvah, u'tefilah, u'tzedakah, ma'avirin et roah hagzerah.
Now we humble ourselves in relationship with the ultimate, the eternal, the ground of being. This time, once a year, it's traditional when we say in the Elenu, Ba'anachnu kore'im, and we bow down, to actually prostrate ourselves to the ground, to really experience that lowering, humbling, just allowing the puffery of our lives to go and allowing ourselves to experience awe and humility. The great Elenu is on page 890. And if you want, you could just bow in your place, but if you want to try bowing down to the ground, you can do that too.
לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שנתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם בתוכנו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
We continue with announcements with the sovereign of announcements, Marcy Alt.
Welcome. My name is Marcy Alt, and I am proud to be on the board of CBH. We are thrilled to host so many people from around the world, the country, and of course here in Atlanta, to our virtual High Holy Day services as we observe Yom Kippur 5782. Every year, whether in person or virtual, CBH is proud to provide high holiday services to our community without the traditional tickets for purchase. As a result, we rely heavily on your generosity to help us raise our annual funds. If you haven't already done so, please, I encourage you to support our high holiday appeal by visiting donate-to cbh.org/2021. All are invited back online to attend our Yom Kippur services today at 12:30. Our chant and meditation service is at 4. And again, our Yitzker and Neela, which begin at 6 p.m. Because of rain, unfortunately, the yoga and Qigong have also been moved online, which are at 2 and 3 o'clock respectively. You can find the Zoom links on the High Holiday Program webpage. Well, there'll be no evening minyan tomorrow night due to Yom Kippur. This Friday, we will observe Shabbat with a brief 15-minute evening minyan at 8 p.m. You'll have the opportunity to say a healing or a Kaddish for a loved one. Your Zoom link can be found on our website at cbhatlanta.org. All are invited to partake in our Sukkot picnic on Saturday. It's September 25th, and our Simchat Torah outdoor dancing celebration with the Torah and our CBH band on Monday evening, September 27th. Both of these gatherings are multi-generational. Reserve your spot today on our website. That's right, cbhatlanta.org. I wonder how many times I say that. There are still spots to register your elementary age school kids in our renowned, innovative CBH Community School, which meets weekly every Sunday morning at the Friends School in Decatur. Preschool age kids meet this Sunday for a really special Sukkot bagels and blocks. Can I go? For more info, visit cbhschool.org. For all our members to whom we've loaned a high holiday prayer book, please plan to return them the final 2 weeks of September following Yom Kippur. We will be providing you with a range of times that you can return them to CBH following Yom Kippur. When you return the prayer book or any time that you come to CBH this September, please bring some non-perishable food items that'll be donated to Operation Isaiah Food Drive. If you enjoyed the music at today's service, you can delve deeper into the awesome professionally produced collection of CBH music on our website. A really big thank you to all of you who took part in our Envisioning CBH congregational survey. Whether or not you participated, please be on the lookout for the communication regarding our upcoming focus group. It'll meet once during October. We invite all of our community members to share during these important online meetings. It'll really help shape our CBH's future. Our deepest gratitude goes to all the volunteers, the staff, the chorus, the instrumentalists, and everyone else that helped bring CBH High Holy Days to life. I really want to thank Rabbi Dale, Will Robertson, Gay Angurin, and Haley Monette for producing these virtual High Holy Day services. We could definitely not have done it without you. Gemar Katima Tova, a good ceiling to each of you, and I hope you're fast. If you're fasting today, I hope it's easy.
Thank you, Marcy, as always. Beautiful. It was only through coming to CBH 25 years ago that I would not just find a spiritual home, but mostly the capacity hang on one second. I'm getting a signal here I don't understand.
Your camera's off, Gay.
Thank you, Will. I did not know my camera was off. There we go. Thank you so much for that. It was only through coming to CBH 25 years ago that I would find not just my spiritual home, but mostly the capacity to create and grow within the context of religion. The complex, beautiful tapestry that is CBH was started with the thread of a group of gay men and lesbian women. And this was the foundational cloth that gave possibility to my creative voice. And it is the lens through which I have learned my Judaism. And I want you to know, I cannot be more grateful for this. It has really been in the last year that I am really coming to fully recognize that there would have been no other route for me than what I have profoundly understood and defined as the queering of religion, the access to the heart of Torah because of the invitation to bend, turn, question openly, like Rabbi Josh's book, Torah Queries. The Torah itself is a creative source. I have placed this video that Alessandro Maldes made as our kavanah before the prayer for the end of hiding. It captures the great misunderstanding of love and its redemption. I am having one of those moments where this is alignment of my own awakening, what has grown in me, what is possible, with what can be redeemed through love. It's just pulsing through my heart as I read these lyrics to Sigh No More. Serve God, love me and mend. This is not the end. Live unbruised. We are friends, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Love, it will not betray you. There is a design, an alignment, a cry of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was meant to be. Ilia Delio has said this about love. Everything that exists speaks of God. It reflects the love energy of God. But God is more than anything that exists. God is always the more of our lives. We can't contain God. If we try to control God, that's not God. God always spills over our lives. The beauty of love as it was made to be.
Serve God, love me and mend. This is not the end. Live unbruised, we are funny thing. Love, it will not betray you, dismay, or enslave you. It will set you free. Be more like the one you were made to be. There is a design and alignment to cry of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was made to be. Love, it will not betray you, dismay, or enslave you. It will set you free. Be more like the one you were made to be. There is a design and alignment to cry of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was made to be. Love, it will not betray you, stay or enslave you. It will set you free. Be more like the one you were made to be. There is a design and alignment to cry of my heart to see the beauty of love as it was made to be.
And invites you to read the prayer for an end of hiding.
As LGBTQ Jews, we're aware of the loss of integrity we suffer due to pressures of the larger society. We often feel forced into a dishonest presentation of ourselves, to ourselves, and others. The LGBTQ individuals who feel that they must pretend to be something that they are not. The Jews who feel that they must be alienated from their tradition and community to win larger acceptance, both are victims of a theft of identity and integrity committed by the sexual, gender identifying, or religious majority. Creator of the universe, we ask that our hiding draw to an end, that we no longer feel we have to pretend, to promise falsely, to renounce ourselves, and that our fullest creative expressions as Jews and as lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, and queer people be among the blessings you bestow upon us. Amen.
Amen. An alternative Elenu. Bend the knee and leave the old damage behind. It is resolved, or it is not. It is forgiven, or it is not. In any case, those gates are shut. Walk into this Shemitah sabbatical year and acknowledge the new suffering. The earth begs for a rest, and it is up to us to help. This is our covenant. It's not enough to live small. This year, we must act big. Elenu, it's on us. We remember those dear to or part of our congregation who have passed away recently or at this time in years past with the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Please feel free to add into the chat people whom you are remembering at this time. Mourner's Kaddish is on page 1216. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechonu v'yomechon, v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olmei almaya, v'yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'richu, le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Yoseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. Eloheinu Makor HaRachamim, God, source of compassion, be compassionate to us as we struggle to grow beyond our brokenness. Be kind in planting within us compassion for all of those around us. Let us act with compassion. Let us pray with compassion. Let us turn in compassion as we renew our days. Ken Yehi Ratzon.
Ken Yehi Ratzon, Amen. Adon Olam, page 1224. Adon Olam asher malach beterem kol yitzir nivra liet na'asa v'chetzo kol azai malech shemoni kra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu ove ve'hu yiyeh בתפארה והוא אחד ואין שני להמשיל לו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמזרע והוא אלי וחי גואלי וצור חבלי ביצרה והוא ניסי ומנוס לי מנת כוסי ביום אקרא בידו אפקיד רוחי בית האישן והעירה ועם רוחי גוויעתי אדוני לי ולא יירא. See you soon.